It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gager.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. And today it actually is just two guys and a goalie. Nielson, Cass, and Joaquin Gager. The Hernan Salas unable to join us today. Hopefully he'll be back on Thursday. Boys, how's the weekend? Cass, how's the weekend, buddy?
It was good. In-laws still in town, so just spending lots of time with the fam and just hanging out. So it was a good solid weekend. Took the kids to this place in Edmonton that has like lots of slides. It's like the old Discovery Zone. I don't know if you guys remember that at all. It's like tunnels, it's basically like a massive indoor playground, like with tunnels and slides.
Okay.
And, webbings and net and stuff for the kids to go ham with. So they had an absolute blast. I got a little bit sweaty trying to follow them around through there. So it was good. It was a lot of fun.
Gager, did you work up a dad sweat this weekend or no?
Just cold sweats, Dusty. I didn't take the test, but I'm pretty sure I was under the weather. So my son had COVID, like I said a while ago. I think it's gone through the family here. So it wasn't bad. I had a headache, and I was stuffed up, but I was still manageable.
Yeah, I got boosted on Saturday. And I was a little bit achy on Sunday, but good to go today. So we're locked and loaded. At least, Cassie, your in-laws, when you forced them to watch one of your former NHL teams play against the team that you cover now, are they excited for that, or are they hockey fans, or what?
No, they're decent hockey fans. So they lived in Dallas when Dallas was really, really good.
Okay.
Like when they won the cup and when Madonna was there, so they were actually season ticket holders back then. So they watched a lot of hockey. Don't follow it as much now. Interestingly enough, actually, my father-in-law's he's originally from Minnesota and still has lots of his best friends up there, and his best friend's a massive Wild fan. So he kind of keeps tabs more on the Stars and the Wild than anything. They're actually pretty good to sit down there. So I had the game on and they were happy to have that on and just to sit and chat and to watch. And so it's really good. It's not like it's an in-depth, analytical knowledge of anything, but they enjoy watching and enjoy hanging out. So it was a lot of fun.
That's nice, then. That's nice. Gager, give up the first goal, get the next three. You're in 3-1 lead, heading into third period, which have actually been okay at protecting third period leads so far this year. But not on Saturday, buddy. What stood out for you Saturday night, that loss to the Sens?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I watched the first two periods, Dusty, and it got to 3-1. And I was watching it, and I thought they had it well in hand. And I started watching a new show that we'll talk about later with my wife. And then we got a few episodes in, and I looked at my phone to check out the final score, totally thinking that it would have been an Oilers victory, and seeing it, and I was like, oh my God. And then, so the next morning I actually got up and watched the latter part of the 3-1 and the full third. And I don't know. I had so many questions as to what happened there. And the fact that I felt McDavid and Draisaitl played so much at 3-1 for no particular reason, where it was a perfect opportunity to get everyone involved in the game and go into, let's face it, the Oilers need to work on some sort of a shutdown mode. Like, they don't need any more goals at that point. I don't understand that reasoning. And then just the amount of chances and the types of chances that were given to the Sens. I mean, you do need to have your goalie make a save. Like, I'm not letting Skinner off the hook by any means, but the lack of desperation and challenging yourself to will yourself to a victory at that particular time against the 30th place team in the league, that's tough. That is a real kick in the nards for that one. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. I guess not unlike most people here in Edmonton.
We've got, you said a couple of things there that I think we can dive into a little bit. But Cass, first of all, just your thoughts on where things went wrong Saturday night, and we'll see if it jives with what Gager had to say. And if not, we can discuss that.
Where did it go wrong? I mean, it was just like a broken, no confidence team that should have had confidence heading into the third, as a team that has won or hasn't lost in regulation a game where they've been leading heading into there, and they just completely fell apart. And it's just big mistakes. It's like big bad brain farts at inopportune times over and over and over again. Like, it's always something. They just continue to do it to themselves. I don't have any answers. I don't think anyone in that room right now has any answers. Like, it's just gross.
What do you do when it looks like nobody has an answer? Like, you see McDavid talking to the media after, and I mean, he literally said 4 times, like, I don't have an answer. And Dave Tippett didn't look like he really had an answer either. And at the same time, I mean, you out-chanced them 2-1 grade A chances. He just lost that game. What are you supposed to do when nobody has an answer? Like, what do you do?
This was my solution on the post-game show, because Tommy G asked me, that's handsome Tom Gazzola, or AKA Huge Wiener Gazzola, asked me in the post-game show pretty much a similar question. And this was my answer. And it's a caveman answer, a little bit. I don't think everyone needs to go and fight anyone or everyone, but in my opinion, in those type of situations, all that the Oilers have left that they have not done is basically the old adage, when I was in junior, was, up 3, down 3, start a brawl to try and change something. And they weren't up 3, down 3 in that game, but in this instance, I'm kind of like, they need a galvanizing moment. Someone needs to grab someone and start a line brawl. Even if it's just 2 guys fighting, 3, like, they need something to pull them out of their emotional shell, because they are stuck in this little emotional box where they can't get out of it. And you need someone to punch holes through the side of that. And the more we talked, the more I thought it may have to be Darnell Nurse, who normally I don't want fighting. You need him normally on the ice, but who else do you have at this point? Like, Zach Kassian had a lot better game, and he potentially could do it too. But I just feel like it needs to be someone from the leadership group, and of that group, Darnell Nurse is the guy that has the ability to do that. So what I would love to see is Darnell Nurse try to take a outlandish open ice run at somebody, run somebody over, and start a brawl. And again, call me a caveman all you want. They need to do something to snap them out of this funk. And I do believe moments like that pull a team together. They excite a team. Everyone goes back into the dressing room, especially if it's close to the end of a period, fired up, revved up, and just run with it from there. Like, because I got nothing else, Dusty, at this point. Like, what else are they going to do?
Gager, your thoughts on what Cass suggested there, and the fact that, we really haven't kind of seen that sort of moment from the team this year where they could really sort of rally around a physical opponent, or, the way that they played physically in a game. And maybe that's just not their makeup. But as Cass said, you got 1 or 2 guys that could at least attempt to do that for you.
I think it comes back to a few weeks ago when we mentioned how they're not tough to play against, right? Like, you look at the other team, they do not look worn down and frustrated to a point of taking bad calls or anything like that, right? I agree with Cass. I think they need a galvanizing moment to get excited about something, But when I say that they're not a tough team to play against, it's not like the finishing checks, like it is a little bit, but it's the way that they can play. And I'll get into it a little bit later about what I got to talk about. But yeah, there's a style, like, the Oilers aren't going to overwhelm you with a physical play, but there's a way I think they can play to make it difficult on the other teams, and the way that they kind of go about their offense, I think, and then the way they think about it, I think, can change a little bit too. But they need some sort of moment or something. And I mean, man, you play the legs off of Darnell Nurse, and sometimes I even think he's kind of holding back. Like, you saw him jump into the play a little bit more, and he was a little bit more offensive last game. But at other times, because he plays so much, I think he kind of holds back, and really he's looking for opportunities at certain times. I hate to see Darnell have to go out and do something like that, but it should be a team thing. It should be everyone should want to do something like that to get other people involved. I think, Jesus, hopefully if the Nuge could come back and have another tilt with Monahan on Saturday, maybe that's the key to it.
Even that type of thing gets you going, right, Cass? Even that type of thing.
And I agree. I completely agree, Gager. Like, I don't want Darnell Nurse to have to do that. He shouldn't have to do that. But the way that the team is playing has forced him, in my opinion, should force him to have to do something like that. I mean, fortunately, in a game against Calgary, you hope they have some kind of response like that. And who knows, maybe Mike Smith's ready to go. And I guess it's a hand injury, so he probably won't be throwing down. But like, when we look back at that whole Calgary brawl, when that all happened, and the goalie fight, like, can you imagine a world in that having something like that happen wouldn't help the Oilers emotionally with where they are right now? And yeah, Nuge coming back could provide an emotional boost, but they're just stuck in such a rut here that I don't know if even him coming back would really change anything. And that it's like that team identity. And Gager, I'll agree with you again here. And maybe you want to unpack this a little bit more, because I think it's worth unpacking, that they're not a tough team to play against. And I'll reiterate what you said. That doesn't mean like going and fighting, but they're just easy to play against. Like, they don't force teams into uncomfortable positions, and they're not forcing turnovers, and they're just easy to play against. And I don't know, even with Nuge coming back, if they get any harder.
It's glorified men's league hockey. That's what it is. It's I mean, you don't even need trainers, I don't think. No one's getting hurt out there. It's frustrating. But Cass, let me ask you, throughout your career, there's obviously times when you go through stretches like the Oilers are having where you're losing and stuff, but isn't it like someone always lost their shit on one of my teams, like just couldn't stand it anymore and did something kind of stupid, probably took a 5 or something, just because it got to the point where he was so frustrated with how things are going that it manifested in a bad penalty, or just doing something crazy, or doing something out of character for certain people. I don't get why that no one hasn't done anything that shows me that this whole stretch that they're on is
pissing them off,
is making them angry. Like,
that's the thing. It's not 3 games, Gager. You're 12, 14 games into this thing, and nobody's really shown to be pissed at all about the situation outside of coming out, post-game media being like, we just can't figure it out. It's like, well, then do something about it, guys. Like, I don't get it.
It's like, I don't doubt that they're guys that are like that, and that are angry, and that there's been hard words and meetings said in the dressing rooms, and guys shouting and frustrated and voicing frustrations. Like, I get that, and I see it in the body language. You can see the frustration in the body language, but no one has done anything about it. And that's what I mean from an emotional standpoint. Like, you need someone to go and do something crazy to toe that line a little bit, to push that line, to cross that line a little bit here. Like, what are you willing to do to try to turn this thing around? And again, to go back to me, and it's a different game, I understand that, but it was like, I'm going to have to do something stupid. Like, I'm going to have to hit someone from behind. I'm going to have to throw an elbow. I'm going to have to give the goalie a bump in front of the net when
do that,
guys, when guys are on the ice that I know are going to have to respond. Like, and I understand the trepidation because their penalty kill hasn't been very good, and bad penalties have costed them. But to me, it's just like, consequences be darned here, boys. Like, I'm gonna just go do something to try to change this. And for me, I knew it wasn't scoring goals because I wasn't a goal scorer. It's like, well, what do I have? What ability do I have to go and change this game, to turn this around, to make a statement here? And they haven't had anyone step up and do anything. Even on the like, just the skill side or the work ethic side, like physical play notwithstanding, like, take that out of the picture. They still haven't had anybody that's just stepped up to do that. So it's an emotional problem on this team. And I mean, I'll just throw this, and I don't want to unpack it because we've talked about it a lot, and everyone's talked about it a lot. But it just brings me back to the whole: if there is some way you can get Evander Kane, he's a guy that can do that and may do that. And personal problems aside, from a purely winning standpoint, you're just like, you need to inject some of that emotion or something into this lineup. And I don't know. Part of me, maybe I texted this to you guys the other day. Even if you take Kane off of the line, I'm like, you go with your most physical line, you bring up Niemelainen, and you tell them, you guys go out and you start something. You do something. Niemelainen throws a check. We'll throw a check, lay somebody out, because he has the capacity and the ability to do it. We've seen it before. Throw a huge hit, and then someone start a fight. Let's see where this team goes after that.
All you have to do, Cass, is just dump it in on net, have the goalie cover it, and then just a little poke on the glove, and it make just a little poke, and everyone goes nuts.
How crazy is it, the guys, that you haven't seen that? Like,
Gager,
what you just described, what you just described has not happened once during the slide, and I've seen that shit happen at a rec league game when you're trying to get under a goalie's skin. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Or even like, for me, in that instance, if you can't get the other team to engage, the way you get another team to engage is you go after, guess who? The small skilled guys. So if you're Darnell Nurse and there's a guy that kind of stops close to your goalie, that's like a Johnny Gaudreau in a Calgary instance, your glove better be, he better be tasting leather. Yeah. Like, pull your fingers back so you don't get bit. Shove the glove in his face. Give him I call it the old Nate Prosser face wash, because he did it all the time. And it's just like, have we seen any of that? No, we haven't seen any of that. We haven't seen any emotional response that's been significant or that's been consistent in a way to pull this out. And that, same thing, Dusty, where it's just like the hard to play against is they're just making it easy for teams to beat them. Like, I feel like Calgary, with their physical play, not that I expect Edmonton to play that way, and their team makeup is different, but even when Calgary loses, they're losing, but you're beating them, but they're losing in a way where they're aggressive, they're physical. I had lunch with one of the Ottawa guys, before the game, the day before, and he just basically said, man, Calgary may have been the toughest team to play against that we played this season, and they won that game. But he was like, you had no time. He's like, every time you touch the puck, you're getting hit. He's like, it felt like we were just throwing pucks up the wall, hoping that something would happen, because there was no space to breathe. He's like, it was incredibly frustrating and difficult to play against. And can we ever say in the last 15 games we've seen a single game from the Oilers where the other team would leave the building going like, man, that was a tough one?
No,
it's just not the case. It's one of the things that we've discussed that's wrong with this team right now. And we'll get into, we got to talk about it in a second. I do. And this is not me taking a shot at the leadership group, but I honestly want to ask you two guys this question, because maybe there's nothing to it, but how much does a team take the identity of their leadership core, of their leadership group? Is that a thing, or is that not a thing? Like, I'm just kind of curious, because their leadership core is a group of highly skilled individuals who, when games are going good, they don't want to be involved in any of that stuff anyway. So how much I know it shouldn't be the case, but just for you guys who've been in these NHL rooms, how much can a team actually sort of adapt to what their leadership group is?
Well, I'll go back to my last year with the Oilers, and our leadership group was, they were a bunch of killers, basically. Like, Doug Weight was scary tough. Like, when he fought, he was a good fighter for his size, pound for pound, pretty good fighter. You had Bill Guerin, who was very physical. Ryan Smith was a physical player, right? Tough to play against. Jason Smith, Mike Greer. So those guys played a style that, you look up to your leaders, and of course you're not going to be as skilled as a Doug Weight or Bill Guerin, but there was a physical element to their game, as well as you felt like they could handle themselves if things got, a little bit squirrely. And you look at Connor and you look at Leon and the way that they play, and it's a high skilled game, and it drives me crazy when I see guys that are not playing in those types of positions that are doing a 4-foot backhand sauce pass trying to hit a guy going through 2 other defenders, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. Put the puck in a safe place and let these guys skate into it and establish some sort of physical game. You can't all play like Connor and Leon do. So, yeah, Dusty, maybe you have a point there that everyone's looking up to the leadership group saying, okay, we got to play a skilled, fast game when that's not their game to begin with. And it's definitely not working. And then I come back to, if it's not working, why do they keep going back to this style of play? Like, it's not working for them. And Tippett said at the beginning of the year, we're going to be in trouble if we keep playing like this. And here we are. The Oilers are. They're in trouble.
Cass?
I want to compare my 2 seasons in Ottawa, because I think it's a pretty good example in how leadership dynamics can change and how they affect a group. So my first year there, we had Daniel Alfredsson. Now, Alfie, if you remember back to like the Alfredsson, Spezza, Heatley line, incredibly high skill,
they were good.
Just really, really good, dominant. And as Alfie got older, he's still skilled, but wasn't able to put up the same kind of points, which happens. Player plays as long as that, and so his role transformed a little bit, where he played, up and down a little bit on the lineup, and second line, occasionally on the third line, but wasn't in the same highly offensive role that he had been. But the thing about Alfie is he'd never ask or tell you to do anything that he wouldn't do himself. Never. So, to me, it was like if Alfie told me, go spear this guy, I'd be like, yep, on it. I'll go do that. If he told me to go fight this guy, I'd be like, okay, I wouldn't, to me, it wouldn't question it. It'd be like, oh, he sees we need this. I guess we need this. He's telling me to do this. Okay, I'm going to go do it. And we had this team identity. The moniker was Pesky Sens. We had that. We had shirts made up of it. It was, we would do dance parties after every win in the dressing room to Hall & Oates. Like it was, we just had this identity. And I think a lot of it did stem from Alfie, because he was willing to do whatever it took to win, that we all would do whatever it took to win. Now, fast forward to the next season, he had a whole debacle that management and ownership just completely, I don't even have word. It was just a tragedy, the way that everything happened with Alfie, where he left and he was in Detroit, and Spezza took over. And Spezza, great player, great career, didn't have the same kind of presence. And he had he wasn't the type of player who was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. Now, maybe he had some of that mentality, but, Spezza wasn't about to go spear someone and get in a fight. Now, he on occasionally would throw down, but it wasn't. It was a very different personality in the leadership group that took over. And we, in my opinion, suffered for that, where there wasn't anyone in the leadership group that was willing to do okay, put this on my shoulder, boys, let's go, whatever it takes. And we struggled, I think, because of that. And I don't think it all is always on your captain. Like, Connor is going to be Connor. You can't expect him. He's not going to be Daniel Alfredsson. He's not going to have the same personality. He's not going to be as outgoing or as outspoken as Alfie was, and that's okay. That's fine. But you have other guys in your leadership group that then need to take up that mantle. They need to put that on their shoulders, and that's why I keep in my mind, and now saying it out loud over and over again, go back to Darnell Nurse, where I'm like, Darnell, you got to be the guy here that's going to pull that emotion out of your team, and it's going to be the follow me, do what I do, and I'm going to do whatever it takes physically. I'm going to do whatever it takes all over the ice, whether that be fighting or throwing a big hit or just starting something or whatever it is. There has to be a guy to get them emotionally engaged. And so he has a capacity to it, because I do really think, Dusty, that your group does take on characteristics of your leadership group, even from an expectation standpoint. But the expectation, and I'm going to, the one thing I will disagree with, sorry, I'm jumping all over a little bit here, is I think they are a team that needs to play skilled and fast. But inside of that, you can't have every single player that's playing skilled and fast, because not every player has the skill of Connor and Leon. Like, those guys, their lines need to play skilled and fast. The other guys, though, They need to play muck it up, grind it out, greasy hockey, grinding hockey. And we saw that at the beginning of the year. We saw that from the third and fourth lines where, how excited were we about who was it? It was Fogle, Kassian.
The Ryan Fogle, Kassian line. Remember for the first few games?
First few games. And that wasn't a fast, skilled game. It was a fast, greasy game. And they've been unable to replicate that, and therefore I think have just bled goals from the third and fourth lines, which has really hurt them. And they haven't had someone that has just done the follow me, boys, I got this. And inside your leadership group, if you want that third and fourth line to do that, at times as a leader, you have to set the example. And I just haven't seen that. And so again, I'm not trying to harp on all the leadership group. And again, I don't think I sit and pin this on McDavid and Draisaitl, and I don't just pin this on Darnell Nurse, but there comes a time when your leadership group has to be the guys that set the example and lead the way. And the other point now where it's gone on too long, the way they've been playing for Edmonton. So, that leadership group has to be the guys to find a solution. Dave Tippett isn't going to do it. And yeah, maybe Ken Holland brings in Evander Kane and maybe that does something, but that's sunshine and rainbows or what is it? Unicorns and rainbows rather, just kind of dreaming and wishing, and you can't survive on dreams and wishes. You gotta have someone that steps up and pulls everybody else along, wills it.
Great answer. Great answers. I'm happy I asked that question because I thought we might get some good answers. I'm just very intrigued by that, just how it kind of, just you see your leaders doing it one way, and you kind of want to emulate them, and I think that might be a little bit of what's going on. All right, let's dive into it. We got to talk about it. And 3 topics, obviously, with the 3 of us today. Gager, let's stick with you here. Let's dive into what you want to talk about.
Well, I watched the Leafs game against the Blues before the Oilers game on the weekend, right? And as I'm watching that game, and the Leafs jumped up to I think a 3-1 lead. And I was just watching the Leafs goals, and I'm like, man, all they did, and I kind of compare the Leafs to the Oilers a little bit, and I kind of wrote down their teams and trying to compare how they both look and how they match up. And the way the Leafs play, I mean, I don't find them a particularly brutal, like aggressive, mean team, but they play a style that's aggressive with creating turnovers and being pesky and quick on pucks and just overall not giving the other teams a lot of space with I mean, it's not bruising checks, but it's just this buzzing. And their first 3 goals all came off of turnovers that they created by anticipation in the offensive zone, quick shots on net, causing goalies to have to do something quick. And I just don't see how the Oilers can't play with the same type of team. Like, I went down, I put up the board. I got the board going.
Nice.
Again. So I put it together. But I mean, if I look at goaltending and the Leafs, like, I have to give them the edge. Like, Campbell's playing much better than the Oilers goaltending. So that's a big key, right? But when I look at the defense, like Riley, Hall, Muzzin, Lindgren, Brody, Sandin, and then, I look at the Oilers with Barry, Russell, Ceci, Keith, Nurse, Bouchard. I don't see a huge advantage on either side of those demons. Like, they're not like bruisers. There's some better puck movers than others in that group, but I don't see how, like, when I watch the Leafs D, they are way more active, it seems to me, than the Oilers D. And then we look at the forwards. I mean, I just went top 8, which what I thought. McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Puljujarvi. I put Nugent there, McLeod, Fogle, Yamo against Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, Marner, Simmons, Kase, Bunting, and Kerfoot. And I know you could kind of intertwine maybe a few in there. I just kind of went with points and games played with both. But I mean, those I would give the edge to the Oilers in that forward group. And there's a way that I watched how the Leafs played, and I go, gosh, the Oilers are more than capable of doing that. And that's a good team, the St. Louis Blues. And they made them make so many turnovers and play a style that made it very difficult and in your face. But it wasn't like a bruising, like punishing style of play, but they caused so much havoc for what I thought the the St. Louis Blues had to go through. I mean, they won on a pretty bad goal, but it was caused by kind of forechecking and a turnover and making a bad play. So when's the last time you saw like a turnover in the offensive zone and a quick shot by the Oilers? They're always looking for something prettier, holding up. Like the Leafs just take everything to the net. And this is just on the offensive side. There's stuff to do on the defensive side. But I just there's a different style of play that the Oilers need to find if they want to get out of this. And I just saw that this weekend, and I thought it was a comparison that I think it's more than capable of what the Oilers can do.
I got 3 words to describe the difference between the Oilers and Toronto. And you said them, and I'm just going to highlight them, Gager. Quick on pucks. Quick on pucks. Can we say that about the Edmonton Oilers? Have you seen that from the Edmonton Oilers? Nope.
Well, this is the one thing that I kind of wanted to chime in on this discussion too, is that like, how often do they actually put a puck down and then try to go get it? Like they're constantly trying to just skate this puck into the zone and try to maintain possession. And it's tough to be quick on a puck when the other team's actually taking away from you and heading the other way. So is this a coaching aspect of it? Is that what this is? This is aggressiveness in the way you approach the game?
Dusty, I would say a number of years ago, and this is why you see a lot less teams with dump-ins, like hit the red and dump it in, hit the red and dump it in. Like analytically, mathematically, most often you are better off gaining the zone with possession than dumping it in. So I understand that. To me, that's not what quick on puck means. It's not I'm going to dump it in and be fast in on the forecheck. What quick on pucks mean is in the defensive zone, the second that guy has it on the other team, we're in their face.
You're on them, yeah.
It means when we're in the offensive zone, we're in their face. It means that the second the other team has the puck, someone is there, stick on puck, right in their face. There's no space to breathe. There is no room because you just always have someone in the way. That's quick on puck, not dumping it in and then being fast in the forecheck. Because I don't think that, especially modern gaming with the speed of the game, that necessarily works all the time. Especially with how, on top of that, how well goalies handle pucks. Because you really have to do a good job of keeping away from the goalie. So maybe in some situations they could do a better job of chipping it in and then being fast and aggressive on the forecheck. But to me, that's not where the problem lies. I don't look at this team and go, oh, I wish they were faster on the forecheck. I just wish they played faster in terms of aggression and level of just getting up in the other team's grill and giving them no space to breathe.
That's in all 3 zones too, Cass. I find that too.
Yeah.
There's so much time and space for the other team to do something, and then just kind of a set up and let them come, and hopefully we can get the puck back at some point. There's no initiation, no jump, and maybe everyone's afraid of making a mistake. Like they think it almost feels better if you back off than going and someone beating you.
That's what you kind of sense, right? You don't want to be the guy who gets caught when things are going so bad right now.
But that's the anticipation that you saw, like on I think it was the Marner goal. Like he anticipated the puck was going to get to a spot, right? And he went there, and it went there. He got it and gave it to, I don't know, Matthews. They got a shot. And I was just like, see, there. And it was in the defensive zone too. Hall made an unbelievable play where he read the play and jumped on the guy in the corner and got the puck, and they moved it right out. And these little subtle plays that I just noticed. And I did that comparison. I go, God, that's how they can play. It's not like it's not possible. Anyway.
That's the thing, Gager, is it's not like it's not possible, because in flash moments, we've seen them do it.
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating and the baffling thing is, like, we have seen them do it in small moments, and it just the intensity and the emotion just seems, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be there to get to that type of play style consistently.
If you recorded the game, it was the Zug's goal against the Oilers, and I rewound it a couple times. And if you watch the heads of the Oilers, like they're so puck focused, and you can just see the heads go to the other side, to that, and then Zug gets it, and then has tons of time. And I think it was Bouchard that, there's a play where where maybe reading it a bit more and seeing that D-man come down just kind of getting stuck in no man's land there. Just a poor read. And Bouchard's another kind of thing. I think we're seeing, I mean, really, this is his first year in the NHL, and we're seeing a first-year defenseman's kind of game from him right now, which is too bad. I think we all kind of predicted this anyway, but yeah, it's there's a lot of work still left. There's lots of good stuff there, but it's a first-year defenseman.
All right, let's continue with we got to talk about it. Cass, what do we got to talk about, buddy?
Well, I want to talk about Skinner and now another goalie on the COVID list. But first, actually, Dusty, just before we get too far away, I kind of wanted to tie all this in, and I think this may have been your want to talk about it, but the battle practice that the Oilers had.
Yes, let's do it. Put it all together.
Yeah, because to me, this all that we've talked about kind of ties right into that. In that now we're seeing them, the Oilers of practice, a lot of 1-on-1s, 2-on-2s, 3-on-3s, like battle drills. And I'm thinking this, and when I heard it, because I wasn't at the practice, I was just like, where was this the whole week off when you had all kinds of time? Because I think for all of us, it was really and is really easy to see that the intensity and that battle level has not been there. So I think it's great that they're doing it. I think it's much needed, but why is it taking this long to happen? Like, to me, the second you have an intensity problem, you try to manufacture intensity just on the ice with your own guys. And yes, normally in the season, you don't get many opportunities to do it because games are too tight together. So I was kind of like, even heading into that break where I was like, okay, why aren't they, or why won't they? Or my expectation was they should do like an intense battle practice, try to manufacture some of that intensity and that emotion and that being quick on pucks and in all zones, in all situations, because you can, if you have the time, you can do it through the neutral zone. You can do it in the offensive zone. You can do it in the defensive zone. And actually it happens in the offensive and defensive zone at the same time in practice. So I just don't know why it took them so long to do it. I'm happy that they are, but man, try to manufacture some of that. Why is it taking this long to put that into play?
Yeah, they've only been struggling for 45 days. Probably could mix with it. And usually wouldn't have a lot of practice time. Last week they did, maybe because they didn't have everybody. They decided to wait, or maybe they just finally said that game against Ottawa was the last straw. And it's time to start battling a little bit. But yeah, we'll see if it helps. I mean, hopefully it does. Is that something that carries over to the next game right away? Is that kind of what you've seen in the past? Like,
most coaches do it to get guys pissed off. There's usually a fight in there that someone has to break up, and the dressing room's all quiet. Now it was more. I remember it being used as a tool to get guys angry, and then finally like have someone to take it out on, and hopefully that's the next opponent, right? Just that focused anger. That's weird. That's weird that it wasn't done before.
All right, let's get into Skinner. Let's hit on that, and then I want to talk about the new top six that we saw today at practice. So, Cass, let's go Skinner first.
Okay, well, first off, this really sucks for Stuart Skinner. Really, really unfortunate as a guy coming in to probably have an opportunity here. So, it's a little bit sad. I'm a little bit sad for him that this is a situation that's happening, but yet again, the Oilers get hit just with something untimely for a guy that has been, and you can critique, I think, some of his last games, certainly against Ottawa, but he has been their best goalie this year when he has played, and or most consistent anyways. So now you're back to Mikko Koskinen, and, the whole goaltending situation just continues to be murky and changing and difficult for the Edmonton Oilers. So I don't know, Gager, I guess I more than anything wanted your opinion on what this does to the room, and I guess what this does to Mikko Koskinen and how mentally he's going to be dealing with this now that Skinner is out for a couple of days here.
Mikko's probably out licking doorknobs right now trying to get COVID. So I don't know. I mean, as a goalie, you always think that you're really good and can be a difference maker, because that's kind of the position too, right? Like you don't get to that level by being a huge member of teams for a considerable amount of years. So I'm sure Mikko's looking at it as another shot. But gosh, man, I was on the Skinner side of things. I was really, really hoping that he would have solidified something and locked that thing down. And he got outplayed by the guy at the other end, right? Like, say what you want, but Matt Murray, I was so impressed with his game, first of all, because if I remember correctly, when he was with the Pens, like, he looked like a very stable kind of, always in the right position, and he is battling so hard right now to like, he's diving across, and he doesn't look like the Matt Murray in Pittsburgh, but he played great. He made some really big saves. I think it could have been over earlier, but yeah, I at least if I'm Stuart Skinner, I know I'm going to probably get another crack at this, right?
Yeah.
But man, it's tough for a young guy to come in and take the reins and get the confidence from the coach and the organization when there's fluctuations of how well you're performing. He has to get his game to a level where it is in the American League at the NHL, where he's a major difference maker every night and providing the team with a chance to win and not giving freebies up to the other team. I don't think all the goals are his fault. Like, there are some good shots in there, but he's got to take one or two of those away from the other team.
It's Two Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by CoolBet. I'm going to save our Keep It and Clip It questions for Thursday's episode because I do want to wrap up with new top six at practice today. It was Perlini with McDavid and Yamamoto, Draisaitl between Hyman and Jesse Puljujärvi. Cass is the forward on the podcast. Let's start with you. What do you think of another new look in the top six?
If you can see on the video, if you're listening, you can't. But I'm covering up my eyes and I'm throwing darts at a dartboard, and I'm just hoping that something lands and lands well. I mean, you're trying to find
right?
something.
Yeah,
you don't know, and so it's a different look. Will it work? Who knows? Perlini obviously has shown in the past he does have the ability to score. So you're trying to throw together a different mix to hope something happens. That's to me, that's what this is.
I just hope that Perlini gets in a spot where Connor can get him the puck and he just is shooting it, right? Just doesn't matter. Just have a shooter on the line. How many goals does he have? 4? Like, those are the quietest 3-4 goals I've seen in a long time, where this guy's just scoring, and all he's doing is just shooting the puck from everywhere. I think there's a little bit too much. They're dusting the puck off a little bit too much for my liking. I want to.
Yeah, not him.
I hope,
right?
Not him. No, if it's rolling, it doesn't matter. He's whacking it towards the net, and he's putting it on net. So hopefully, I hope this works out for him and just gives them. I mean, it's been a long time coming. I don't know what more he has to do to show that he can play. So in a top six role. So this is a really good opportunity for him.
Good discussion today, boys. Fun episode, no doubt about it. We've got one more episode to do before they play the Florida Panthers. We'll have a game day episode on Thursday. Who knows what happens practice over the next couple of days. But enjoy your week, guys. And we will set up a huge battle between the Oilers and Panthers on Thursday's episode. If you've been watching on the live stream, subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. It's Two Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by our friends at CoolBet. Sign up for an account today and use the bonus code 2GUYS, the number 2 in the word guys, and you get 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200, so you can put it all on the over in the Panthers-Oilers game on Thursday night. We'll discuss that with Chris Abbott then. See you later, guys.
See you.